Julia Roberts sat at the view table on a Wednesday morning that felt tense before the coffee even cooled. She wore a simple dark green blouse, sleeves rolled to her elbows, hair tucked behind her ear like she was ready for anything. But her eyes said she knew exactly how this might end. The audience clapped too loud when Whoopi said her name. That mix of curiosity and dread that only happens when they know someone might actually say something real. Whoopi started warm, the kind of warmth she used when she knew the conversation was a storm waiting to break. She said, "Please welcome Julia Roberts, actress, producer, activist, and someone who's never been afraid to speak her mind." Julia gave her a soft smile, the one that made her famous, but there was nothing soft in the way she set her mug down. She said, "Thanks for having me." Joy Behar leaned in first, pen tapping her cue card like a clock winding down. She said, "Julia, you've been out there telling people how to vote, how to think, how to feel about the world. Don't you think Americans are tired of celebrities playing politics?" Julia didn't flinch. She said, "I'm not playing anything, Joy. I'm paying attention." The audience murmured. No claps yet, just that hush that hangs when they know it might get real. Joy smirked, her tone sharp. She said, "You think you're the only one paying attention? You think the single mom working 3 jobs needs you to tell her how to feel?" Julia's jaw flexed. She said, "I think if you have a platform and you don't use it, you're wasting air." Sarah Haynes jumped in, her voice softer, like she wanted to catch the edge before it cut too deep. She said, "But Julia, don't you ever worry that it sounds out of touch? You're rich, you're famous. Do you ever think people feel you don't get their real life?" Julia turned to Sarah, her tone gentler there. She said, "Of course, I don't claim to live every life. But I won't pretend I don't see what's happening outside my gate." Joy's pen tapped faster. She said, "But you do have a gate, Julia. Security, money, choices. Most people don't." Julia's eyes narrowed, her smile gone. She said, "And what do you want me to do? Hide? Be quiet so you feel better about doing nothing?" The audience gasped, just once, sharp and low, before the hush swallowed it whole. Whoopi stepped in, her tone careful but strained. She said, "Julia, what's the one thing you want people to hear when you speak out?" Julia's voice softened, but there was steel under it. She said, "That we can't fix what we won't face. And we can't face it if we're too busy tearing down anyone who tries." Joy's laugh cracked out, brittle enough to feel forced. She said, "So you're the hero now, huh? Julia Roberts, America's conscience." Julia leaned forward, her elbows on the table, eyes locked so tight on Joy that the lights seemed to pull in closer too. She said, "No, but I won't be your punching bag because you're afraid to pick a side." The audience sat frozen, no applause, no signs, just that hush you hear when people feel a line land. Joy's pen slammed on the table, the smack echoing louder than the audience could breathe. She said, "I'm afraid to pick a side? That's rich coming from someone who hides behind Hollywood fences." Julia didn't move. She said, "You think standing up is hiding? You think silence is brave?" Joy's voice rose, too loud for the mic. She said, "I think preaching is easy when your world isn't on fire." Julia leaned in, her tone flat and cold. She said, "My world's on fire too. I just don't pretend it isn't." Sarah looked down at her notes, then back up, her voice softer, trying to stitch the cracks shut. She said, "Julia, what would you say to people who feel like you've lost touch? That you can't see what life looks like outside your privilege?" Julia's eyes flicked to Sarah, the edge easing for just a second. She said, "I'd say they're right to question me. But I'd also say I don't stand here because it's comfortable. I stand here because I won't lie about what I see." Joy cut back in, her laugh sharper than glass. She said, "What you see? You see red carpets, limos, private jets. Don't pretend you're one of them." Julia's jaw flexed. She said, "I never said I was. But I'm not one of you either." Whoopi's voice cracked through the silence, calm but tense enough to hold the table down. She said, "So what are you, Julia? What do you want to be in all this?" Julia's eyes locked on her, the calm gone now, replaced by something that sounded like it had been waiting for years. She said, "Someone who won't shut up so you can stay comfortable." The audience shifted in their seats, No claps, just that low rumble that made the hush feel heavier. Joy's tone turned jagged, each word sharper than the one before. She said, "You think you're better than people who stay quiet? You think your name makes you special?" Julia leaned back an inch, just enough to show she was done pretending this was a warm interview. She said, "No, but my voice is mine, and I won't let you shame me out of using it." Sarah's voice cracked through, softer but firmer now. She said, "Julia, don't you think people want hope more than they want to hear you argue with Joy?" Julia's eyes softened for her, but the edge never left. She said, "Hope means nothing if you're too scared to name what's broken." Joy crossed her arms, her pen forgotten on the table. She said, "Then say it, Julia. Say what's so broken." Julia stood, her chair scraping the floor like a warning. She said, "It's this. This idea that telling the truth makes you the enemy." The audience gasped again, sharper this time, but nobody clapped. Nobody moved. Whoopi tried to pull her back with her voice alone. She said, "Julia, you don't have to walk out. You're welcome here." Julia looked at her, and for a second, the warmth was there, but it was gone just as fast when she turned back to Joy. She said, "Not if staying means pretending you care when you don't." Joy's pen lay flat on the table now, the tapping gone, the grin gone, the next line stuck in her throat. She said, "So that's it? You show up, scold everyone, then walk out when someone calls you on your hypocrisy." Julia didn't flinch. She said, "You're not calling me on anything. You're just making noise so nobody hears what matters." Sarah's hand hovered near Julia's sleeve like she might grab it, but she dropped it before she could touch her. She said, "Julia, people are listening, but yelling doesn't change minds." Julia's eyes softened for Sarah, just for her. Then she turned back to Joy, her voice flat, and so quiet it carried anyway. She said, "You don't want minds changed. You want your audience angry enough to clap when you tell them who to hate." The audience sat frozen. No gasps now, no claps, just that hush that says everyone in the room knows there's no spin left. Whoopi leaned forward, her voice calm but cracking around the edges. She said, "Julia, you're welcome here. You know that." Julia gave her a nod, not warm, not cold, just final. She said, "Thank you, Whoopi, but I won't sit here while you pretend this is about the truth." Joy's laugh cracked through, brittle as glass. She said, "You're not the truth, Julia. You're a millionaire with a microphone." Julia pushed her chair back, the scrape louder than anything the cameras caught before. She said, "And you're a bully with an audience." Joy tried to fire back. One more line, something to fill the silence. But Julia was already stepping behind her chair. Sarah said softly, "Don't go like this, Julia. Just don't." Julia looked at her. The warmth flickered back just for a breath. But when she faced the audience, it was gone. She said, "If staying means lying about who you really are, I'd rather walk out." The hush spread wider than the lights could reach. No band played. No applause sign blinked. Just the soft echo of her boots hitting the studio floor while Joy sat frozen behind her mug. Julia didn't wave, didn't grin, didn't feed the noise. She just walked past the edge of the lights, through the curtain that swallowed up the stage, the cameras, and every line she refused to say to keep the room comfortable. By the next morning, the clip was everywhere. Julia Roberts walks out. Joy Behar claps back. Headlines arguing with the hush she left behind. Julia didn't post about it, didn't spin it, didn't explain it. She didn't have to. Some people perform for the camera, and some people stand up when they realize the room's too small for the truth they brought with them.